світанковім краю, на ті чорнобривці я чую рідненька руки твої.
Yes, so Hairless here. So for this song, this specific performance was recommended to me a number of times, specifically this Kiev concert in Ukraine. It was close to the time of Mother's Day and apparently his mum was in the audience. This is of course a Ukrainian folk song called Chornobryvtsi, or Marigolds in English. We will be watching this one with the lyrics translation on the screen as this was requested in a few of the comments. Now I couldn't find too much about these folk songs' origins online, but apparently the marigold has become a symbol of Ukraine. It represents the nation's beauty and strength. It's been poetized in songs such as this and has earned its place in Ukrainian folklore. Here's a rough translation of the lyrics on the screen. Feel free to pause to read them. So it's clear why he's chosen this song. He's in Ukraine and it's around the time of Mother's Day, two very important factors considering the lyrics. Now I'm excited for this one because of what the comments said about the song that recommended the song to me. A fair few of them say that this is up there as one of his most emotional and beautiful performances. For me, so far from the Dimash songs that I've heard, Qudaibergen holds that position. And in my reaction to Qudaibergen, I did receive this request in a fair few of the comments. If you haven't seen my reaction to Qudaibergen yet, please do. The card for that will be up here. And then lastly, before we get into the song, I have listened to several different versions of this song on YouTube that I found, just to get a better understanding of it and the potential interpretations of this song. It's a nice song for sure, at least to me. I think it has a very Eastern European feel to it. Alright, well let's get into this. I'm excited to see what Dimash does.
Одна из моих самых любимых песен на украинском языке. Специально для вас «Чорнобривці». Чорнобривців насіяла мати у моїм світанковім краю, дай навчила веснянки співати про надію квітучу свою, як на ті чорнобривці погляну, бачу матір стареньку, бачу руки твої, моя мамо, твою ласку я чую, рідненька.
Yeah, there's something about this. There's something about this. It's so nice. It's so nice, and it's obviously such a well-loved song. I mean, did you hear that scream when Dimash announced it?
Чорнобривці.
It's just a very respectful song choice considering his location and of course the Mother's Day aspect as well. Alright, well we've paused there. If you've not seen my videos before, this is where I like to go over and analyse what we've just heard before continuing. So if you don't want to hear me talking and you don't want to hear my analysis, you can skip to the timestamp here. I'm loving the reduced instrumentation here, just piano and the voice. It's a lovely introduction, the piano alone setting the scene. And musically, I love the opening. If we listen to the very, very start. Just that. We hear this in the piano. But after those first two notes, the bass comes back in on this note, except down here. It's like a tiny regression, a move back in time. And the song itself, in a weird kind of way, is a song of memory, looking back in time. It's about recognising one's ageing mother. And also that opening as well. Weirdly, it seems to open backwards with an ending. What I mean by that is, let's listen to the bass part. That in itself is like a cadence that we normally hear at the end of a movement or a piece. The piano introduction, it's lovely. There's a lot of arpeggiation which helps with the rhythmic flow. Considering it's the only thing playing right now, it needs to provide movement somehow. And in the piano part, we often get this harmonious movement between two of the lines. And it's often in thirds or sixths, which means that those two parts move together from note to note the same distance apart from each other in harmony. So that would be like when we hear this part. Or this part. In these cases, the movement there is just two notes being played at any one moment. The pianist has 10 fingers, but he's just playing two notes. It makes me think of the harmony between a mother and a son. And then here we get this repeated piano melody. Kind of like the son, the offspring, echoing the parent, the mother. Dimash's vocal entry, obviously very nice, immediately gripping. It's that lovely airy Dimash voice that I so love to hear when he sings in the lower part of his head voice. It's a purposefully weak sound, especially with that slide, that glissando up to the first note. It's as though he doesn't quite have the strength to immediately arrive at it. I think it's very effective for an opening. Also, if you don't count that slide, he barely technically actually even sings the first note. So the first technical note is this one. And just as he reaches that note after the slide, the audible note cuts out and it's just air that he's producing. Let's listen to that. And the melody, this part especially, I just think it's so nice. It's so simple. The lyrics here, if we go to the original lyrics, okay, I'm trying to practice my Cyrillic a bit these days, but to me this reads Nasadila Mati, but it sounds like he's singing Nasayada Mati. If someone could explain why that is in the comments, then that would be very helpful. Anyway, the melody, nice and simple. It has falling ingrained in it, and falling, as we know, is often a sign of weakness or sadness. It's the opposite of growth, which is ironic because he's talking about planting flowers, and flowers, they grow. In the introduction, I said that from other versions that I listened to before this, the song in general had a very Eastern European feel. Here, Dimash does a little flutter, like a little grace note that I think really gives it an Eastern European feel. And then he goes into this phrase. Notice how there, when speaking about the present time, about this beautiful garden, he switches to a less airy voice, more power to it, although it is still very delicate. And the following phrase, he's reminiscing about his mother. He switched back to the airy voice. Also, when he was talking about the garden there, suddenly the music has become major happy. The chords we hear there are these two. So then we get that next phrase that we heard, and then we go to this phrase where he's talking about blooming hopes. We've gone back to major happy again for this line. I like the use of the word blooming as well, how botanical and fitting. Again, he finishes the phrase with just air. The audible note that we're hearing finishes, but he's still singing, but just producing air. And the piano now has suddenly become a bit more animated. Now we're talking of blooming, of growing. And I kind of see that rise up that we just heard in the piano. I see it a bit like hope too, because it finishes quite abruptly without a real end product, as though the hope is, well, just hope. And then the phrase that just follows, it's just so moving. He uses so much variety in these vocal lines and so many different things. This line, for example. Chornobryvtsi He does the usual switching between the airy voice and the not so airy voice, between pure head voice and a bit of a blended voice, using vibrato and not using vibrato. And then this line here. I see your hands, sweet mother. You know what, let's give it a go in Ukrainian. I want to practice the Cyrillic. Bacho ruki tvoi moje mamo. I tried. But this line musically, it's funny. You know, he's talking about his sweet mother, and musically, I think it is quite sweet with this chromatic bass line that we hear. But it's also funny because this is where we hear the first real dissonance in the music. We have these two notes sustained in the piano, whereas Dimash is singing this note. If we bring them all close together, this is what we get. Why do we get such dissonance when he's talking about his sweet mother? Is it because he's heartbroken that he knows she's growing old? And then just after that, when he calls her dear, we do get a bit more dissonance, but it's much more subtle this time. Here the dissonance comes in the form of a suspension. A suspension basically causes dissonance temporarily because it then resolves into a more pure sounding chord, just as we get there at the end. Some nice simple harmony. And then it's resolved there. Alright, let's carry on. This is really nice.
Бачила у чужій сторони чорнобривці із родного краю, що насіяна ти навесні, як на ті чорнобривці погляну, бачу матір стареньку, бачу руки твої, моя мамо, твою ласку я чую, рідненька, як на ті.
I've just taken a moment there. My eyes were starting to go, I think. I know what people meant in the comments, saying it's up there with one of the most beautiful works of his. I haven't seen that much Dimash in the grand scheme of things. I think this is my 14th reaction. But yeah, it's definitely a moving performance. Alright, just a few things about what we just heard there. So first thing that I wanted to mention is a repeated phrase. We'll come to the repeat, but I'll just show you the phrase that gets repeated the first time we hear it. Talking about the beautiful garden. Here is now the repeated phrase musically. It sounds pretty similar, but now the piano, it's more direct, there's more notes being played, and they're being played more powerfully, which leads into Dimash's treatment of the most important word of the song. It's the name of the song, Marigolds. Oh, it's lovely what he does here. He does that tiny slide, the tiny glissando. It's very, very subtle, and he uses a lot of vibrato. He's teasing a powerful sound, like he's being suppressed or something. He starts the word cho more powerfully than he finishes it. He starts powerfully and then he comes off and then he grows again into it. And because then what he grows into is the chromatic little inflection that we get. The chromaticism there is in the melody itself, but Dimash is drawing attention to it by what he's doing there with his voice. So this phrase that I'm about to play, it's another nostalgic phrase that he treats differently to previously. This time, the climax of the first part of the phrase, the highest notes, they're sung with a fuller voice, but with no vibrato. And then he decides to take a breath mid-phrase. I felt that we were growing there in power. Maybe he's finally getting strength from the memories that he's singing about. But that breath in the middle of the phrase really reinforces this idea of fragmentation. It contrasts the piano, which is playing quite powerfully at that moment. And then to further reinforce this idea of fragmentation, everything just comes off. The powerful piano is no more. Dimash's singing is no more. We get really a quite exaggerated silence, I feel. So I take it this is Dimash's mother. Yes, it is. It's nice how they've put her on the screen here with these lyrics especially. I think they did that the first time as well. And then the standout moment that is maybe not so common with his performances, at least from what I've seen, the audience participation, the crowd singing. There's just something really powerful about crowds singing together. I think so, anyway. I guess the more powerful you find music, the more something like this will affect you. Alright, let's carry on to the end.
Chornobryvtsi poglano, starenku, ruki twoji, moja mamo, twoju lasku ja czuję, rytnenka. Ruki twoji, moja mamo, twoju lasku ja czuję, rідненька.
Lovely, just lovely. It was getting the waterworks going again. I mean, just after we have this audience participation, we now finally get a strong, Dimash powerful phrase. Or do we? Here he comes in with this powerful operatic tenor voice, but no, he doesn't sustain it. The emotions prevail. The contrast between the power note at the top of that phrase, chest voice, vibrato, full sound, to the end of the phrase. No vibrato, blended voice, airy, coming in and out of full sound, so alternating between just air being produced and an actual audible note. And then we have this phrase where he stresses one word. I'm guessing that means elderly. Old woman? Old woman then? Does that mean old woman? Ah, it's just a nice song. This part especially that I'm about to play, it's so sad, and the little grace note on moja mamo, my mother. In this overall downward movement, everything just epitomizes heartbreak. Is it heartbreak? Is it extreme love? I get sadness. I think there's underlying sadness, which moves into this very moving image of his mum. She will be a proud mother, that's for certain. And the piano part here as well, it jumps up the octave in the right hand. The tinkling piano notes up there, it creates an almost magical feeling, wouldn't you agree? And starting higher means that there's more room below in which to descend, and that's what it does. It's downward, falling momentum exaggerated. And these last words, putting his mum on the screen for everyone to see. Yeah, really quite moving. And of course, just like we started, we end with some lovely piano. That nice dissonant chord before the run-up. I think the pianist deserves a special mention there as well. Alright, I think let's leave that there. I don't really have anything else to say other than just what a performance. Alright, well, thank you to everyone who recommended that one to me. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you enjoy my content and want to support me, you can do so by joining the Patreon or YouTube memberships linked below. You can also get a chance to vote on polls for which artists I react to and which songs I do next, etc. And I will see you next time.